Hi Braille class, I'm so glad you could join me today for our third science lesson. So we're on number 3, aren't we, of our science? And today is a little bit of an investigation. So I'm going to do the investigation and you're going to follow along, okay? So let's get started. See if I can share my screen with you. Okay, so I want you to have a think. What does our plant need to grow? So we did this last lesson, didn't we? Can you remember, what does our plant need to grow? There's 5 things. Can you tell me? Let's have a look what our plant needs to grow. So we've got our plant needs sun, it needs air, it needs water, it needs space, and it also needs soil. Okay, so growing a beanstalk. If we were at school, we'd be growing a beanstalk and observing it over the half term to see what happens to it. As we are at home, we're going to plant a beanstalk as a class, so I'm going to do it and you're going to follow along. Now, if you have all the resources to plant a beanstalk at home or do some planting, then you're more than welcome to join in. So what I need you to have is a blank piece of paper, pencil, and any colouring pens or crayons, because you're going to use those after the lesson. So this sheet we're going to keep for half term, so please keep it in a safe place, okay? So the sheet that you're filling in this lesson, please make sure that you keep it in a safe place because we're going to use it each lesson. And this is what our investigation sheet would look like if we were at school. So here we go. So at the top, we have got our prediction. Now a prediction, can you remember what a prediction is? Can you tell me? We haven't done it for a while, but a prediction is something that we think is going to happen. So here we've put, what do you think will happen to your bean? So before we start, you're going to write down what you think might happen to your bean. And then you could draw something that looks similar to these boxes here. We've got week, and then you can fill it in. So we'd be on week 1 this week, and we're going to fill in what our beanstalk looks like. And then at the end, when we filled it in each week, we're going to write what has happened to your beanstalk after the 4 weeks. So was your prediction, what you thought was going to happen, was that correct? But we're not going to do that until for the next few weeks until we've finished. Okay, so can you tell me, what are we going to do? That's right, we're going to be planting our bean today. So I want you to have a think, what do you think I might need? So think about all those things that a plant needed. What do you think I might need? Can you tell me? That's right, I am going to need my plant pot, some seeds, which I have here, some seeds, a watering can. Now I don't have a watering can at home, so I've just got some water here. I have got some soil, and I've also got something to plant my beans in. And we need a light, airy space to grow our beans. So often plants, we know that plants like sunlight. So if you put them near sunlight, they'll grow a little bit quicker. Okay. So before we do all this, I want you to have a think, what will happen to your bean? And I would like you to write it like this. So I want you to write, I think that the bean will, because. So you have a think, what do you think will happen to the bean? And you write it, okay? Well done. Okay, let's have a go. Now we're going to have a go at planting our bean together. So let me stop showing this. So I have got my plant pot. And the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that I've got a plate under my plant pot so the soil doesn't go everywhere. So what do you think the first thing, give me a clue there, first thing I'm going to do is, that's right, I'm going to put some soil into our plant pot. Make sure it's twisted, the soil doesn't go everywhere. Let me put some soil into our plant pot. don't know if you can see it, I've got some soil in. Ooh, what's on the table already, year one? Right, give it a shuffle. Okay, what do you think the next thing I need to do is? Can you tell me? That's right, I need to plant my beans, and I'm going to, now I've had these in soak overnight because it helps the growing process to be a little bit faster. So I'm going to put these beans into my soil and make sure that they have enough space. And then I'm going to put a little bit of soil over the top. Now let's try not get this on the table. You can see. There we go. Just so it covers them. There we go. So I've got my soil. I'm just going to pat it down over the top of my beans. So what do you think my next step might be? What else does a plant need? So we've got soil, space, we've got some air. What else does my plant need? Can you tell me? That's right, it needs some water. So let's get a little bit of water. I'm going to tip it a little tiny bit into my soil. Now I want to make sure that it's not soaking wet. I just want it to be a little bit damp when I touch it. Because if it's too wet, it won't grow right. And damage the beans, make them go a little bit mouldy. Okay, now, I don't know if you noticed, but when I plant it into this plant pot, we can't actually see it growing very well. So what I'm going to do, as well as doing my plant pots, I'm also going to plant some beans in this. But before I do that, I need to stick my castle in, because this is going to help us to see how tall our beanstalk might grow. Because in English this week, we've been doing Jack and the Beanstalk, and the giant lives at the top of the castle. So I thought we could see how tall our beanstalks grow. I'm going to stick into my soil my castle. Might have to get some sellotape to make sure that sticks. There we go. Okay, now let's have a look. So what I've done is I've put some tissue paper in here, some kitchen roll, and I've made sure that there's a hole in the top, and I'm going to put a little bit of soil in that in a bit. So I'm going to put my beans in here. Put them out a little bit. So I've got my beans in here, and I'm going to water, just make this a little bit damp and humid so that they start to grow. And this will help us to see what happens to the beans. Let's see if I can share my screen again. So, how do you know if our beanstalk, how are we going to know if our beanstalks grow? That's right, we're going to keep checking them and keep measuring them to see if they grow. Okay. So, and how can we keep, whilst our beanstalk's growing, how am I going to keep my beans, how am I going to keep those healthy? Ooh, the castle's falling. How am I going to keep those healthy? That's right, I'm going to have to keep adding a little bit of water each day to keep those nice and damp and to keep them healthy. Okay, so this is the first week of our bean. So what I want you to do is finally have a look at my bean. What do you see? Can you see anything? No, me neither. So what I need you to do is I need you to draw the first week, what's happened in our first week. So you're going to put week 1, and not a lot has happened because it's not had a chance to grow yet. So what you'll do is you'll draw your cup and the soil in the top, because that's all we can see at the minute. We can't see what's happened. So I want you to see if you can draw week 1, but remember to keep this piece of paper safe, because we're going to keep observing, which means looking, to see what happens over the next few weeks. Okay. So yeah, so as I just said, we're going to keep seeing what happens to our beans. So we are using our scientific skills. We're observing, which means looking how the plant changes over time. But before I finish, what I need you to do is, for our next lesson, you'll need a real flower if possible. So you might need to pop to the supermarket and get a real flower, or you could find one outside if you're on a walk. I know this time of year they have ones called snowdrops, little white flowers. So see if you can get one of those. Okay. So because we're going to be doing an investigation next time in our next lesson for it. If you really can't find a real flower, it doesn't matter. We can make one, but if you do, it would be fantastic. Okay, can't wait to see all of your work on tapestry. Bye, everyone.